Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today we will talk about the preparation, designing, and delivering effective lectures. चूँकि लेक्चर जो हैं यानी प्रेजेंटेशन थ्रू द पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन या बेसिक लेक्चर देना जो है ये विच इज़ वन ऑफ द मोस्ट कॉमनली यूज टीचिंग स्ट्रेटेजी बाय द हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल टीचर। सो इस पर हम थोड़ा सा डिटेल से बात करेंगे कि इसके प्रिपरेशन हम किस तरह करेंगे, डिज़ाइनिंग पर बात करेंगे, स्लाइड्स किस तरह होंगे, किस तरह नहीं होंगे, और फिर डिफरेंट ऐसे स्टेटमेंट हम डिस्कस करेंगे जो इसको इफेक्टिव बना लेगी इस लेक्चर को। So that is our today topic, that how to prepare, design, or deliver the effective lecture uh, for the undergraduate students. The objective of the studies will be students will be able to enlist questions to ask themselves while preparing the lecture, describe common lecture structure, know how encourage the students to take active part, enlist common tips for the good teaching, enlist tips for active teaching, how to plan the lecture, and how to plan the lecture it will be और एक अलग सा लेक्चर भी हम इंशाल्लाह लेंगे कि जिसमें हम 60 मिनट लेक्चर को जो ज्ञानी इवेंट्स है उसकी मुताबिक जो है हम किस तरह एक 60 मिनट लेक्चर को प्लान कर सकते हैं कि क्या क्या इवेंट हम इस तरह करेंगे जिससे हम ये इफेक्टिव भी हो और 60 मिनट में हम इस टॉपिक को कवर करें। Similarly, students will be able to describe how to give effective lecture and then no common lecture errors. कौन सी ऐसी common mistake होती हैं जो अमूमन हो जाती हैं। No importance of the feedback. So बाज़ औक़ात इस तरह होता है कि कुछ teaching जो है ये not only depend on the teacher, but it also depend on the maturity and as well as the context of the student as well. So there are many methods that how to control of student. That is not only to how to deliver the lecture, but the delivery of lecture is directly proportional to the control of the students. So that is also very important in the medical education, that how we can control the class. Somehow जैसे यहाँ पर कि there are some teachers, they are the class जो है they are drama class, sit it down or we are die, they have some जो हो सकता है सही। लेकिन ये एक अलग टॉपिक है, इस पर इंशाल्लाह हम अलग से एक सेशन लेंगे कि हाउ वी कैन इफेक्टिवली कंट्रोल आवर स्टूडेंट्स। और व्हेन एक तरीका ये भी है कि जब हम अपना लेक्चर अच्छी तरीके से हमने प्रिपेयर किया है, हमारे स्लाइड जो हैं दे आर अट्रैक्टिव, हमारे कंटेंट जो है ये अच्छी तरीके से प्लान हो गई है एंड वी कैन effectively elaborate the things which are in the slide, और हम इस अच्छी तरीके से डिलीवर कर रहे हैं, so we can also control the class throughout this effective lecture. So if we have uh, quite a proper preparation for our lecture, if we have properly designed our lecture and then we are properly delivering the lecture, so through this we can easily control the class so quickly. And obviously those teachers जिनकी या तो slides they are not properly constructed, or they he are designing सही तरीके से नहीं है, या he is not prepared, या उसकी delivery method में कुछ problem है, तो the पूरा class जो है ये इस तरह की बन जाती है, which is then very difficult to control. So first of all, what we mean from the lecture, what is the literal meaning of the lecture? Lecture, it is a Latin word which निकला है lectere से, और इसकी जो literal meaning है to read out loud. So the पहला objective कि हम question to ask yourself, ये वो question है जिनका किसी भी क्लास को आप जब आप लेक्चर डिलीवर करने जा रहे हैं, so answer should be there and proper answer should be there to this question. And if there is not that proper answer to this question at least, then it means that we should have a proper preparation. और तब जाके हम जो क्लास हम जा सकते हैं, इफेक्टिवली डिलीवर कर सकते हैं. So am I ready to deliver the lecture? Is the material at the right level? जिस स्टूडेंट्स हैं इसकी लेवल है, या जो ऑब्जेक्टिव वहाँ पर है उस ऑब्जेक्टिव के लिए ये जो स्ट्रेटेजी है ये मैचिंग करती है कि नहीं, या जो उस किस्म का ऑब्जेक्टिव है क्या उसके लिए ये लेवल का जो मैंने प्रिपरेशन की ये है कि नहीं है. Am I trying to cover too much? What difficulties can I anticipate? Is there any space for students' involvement? Have I got the clear learning outcome, which learning outcomes है? क्या वो अगर नहीं है तो then again we don't know that what to teach them. Yeah, what is their level? How can I evaluate my lecture? So ये जितने भी questions हैं इन सब की answers जो है जब आ जाते हैं और फिर इसकी evaluation होगी तब जाके जो है we can then enter the class and we can deliver the lecture. बहुत सारे तरीके हैं जिसमें से हम लेक्चर को डिजाइन कर सकते हैं. So one is the very classical method, the other is the problem centered, the other is the comparative, the chaining sequential. और इन पर एक एक हम बात करेंगे क्लासिकल का क्या मतलब है, प्रॉब्लम सेंटर का क्या मतलब है, कंपैरेटिव क्या मतलब है, चेन सीक्वेंशियल का क्या मतलब है. The classical one, which is also known as the hierarchical style or lecture, that is, which means there will be introduction, then there will be section 1 or topic 1, then there will be some topic 2, or we can say that there will be one objective, the second objective, then there will be third objective, and then the end the conclusion. जितने भी हमारे लेक्चर्स होते हैं उन सब में कोशिश यही करनी चाहिए कि हम 3-4 से ज़्यादा ऑब्जेक्टिव जो है ना रखें, क्योंकि प्रीवियस जैसे हमने कहा कि एम आई डूइंग टू मच, कवरिंग टू मच, जब इसका आंसर यस आता है तो ऑब्वियसली फिर टू मच जो है आप 1 आवर में या 2 आवर में करेंगे तो स्टूडेंट्स को इसको गेन करने में, इसको कवर करने में मुश्किल आ सकती है. दैट्स व्हाई वी शुड हैव टू कीप आवर लेक्चर to 3 or not more than 4 objectives. और इस पर फिर हम डिटेल भी ज़्यादा होगी, so that will be covered in a 60 minutes. So this is actually known as the classical, also known as the hierarchical structure of the lecture. So the second one style of teaching, we can say that the manner of teaching, the structure of lecture is the problem centered. Problem centered mean when we are discussing some problem, some disorder, some disease, or any problem in the community to our students. So how we can treat what will be the structure of the lecture. So the most common is that initially we have to discuss them what the problem, what is the problem, what is the nature of this problem, which type of problem it is, define the problem, more explore the problem, and after that then there would be some suggestions, some answers, some solution those problems, and that will be the solution one. Then maybe the strategy or the alternative or the option or the treatment or the solution second one. Then there may be another solution, and then you have to compare that which one is better, which one is not better, and we have to discuss the advantages and disadvantages and all the challenges we will face in all the these 3 different solutions. We might have in 4 and 5 as well, but this is just the model that there would be description of the problem, then it will have some solution to that problem, and in the last there will be conclusion that out of these which one is much more better, and on what basis. There may be on the basis of availability, it may be on the basis of cost, it may be on the different parameters to the patient. It means this we have to compare that advantage and disadvantage and then select one that this is the superior to the other options. Similarly, there another style of the lecture that is comparative, which means when we are going to compare 2 different phenomena, 2 different theories, 2 different concepts. Suppose we are going to compare A and B. So first of all, there would be one point which is sharing to both, but then we will compare that what is that characteristic of A and the same characteristic of B. Then another features will be compared for both A and B, and then there will be another feature for the A and B, and then another, and another. And then in the end, all these features which in between the comparison that would be summarized. Another structure of the lecture are the slides, that is the chaining and sequential. और ये कहने सिक्वेंशियल तब होती है व्हेन वी हैव अ प्रोसेस और उस प्रोसेस को हमने स्टेप वाइज जो है ये पढ़ाना है स्टूडेंट्स को। तो स्टेप वाइज जो है हमने उसको इस तरह की एनिमेटेड फॉर्म देनी है, इस तरह की स्ट्रक्चर हमने देनी है जिनसे इनको पता चल जाए कि भाई इस स्टेप के बाद जो ये स्टेप आ रही है, दिस इज द नेक्स्ट स्टेप। इसको थोड़ी सी याद होने में आसानी होगी। लाइक वी हैव टू डिस्क्राइब इनिशियली द प्रॉब्लम जो प्रोसेस है, द कंसेप्ट है, उसको पहले हम इसको इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे, फिर उसके स्टेप्स पर बात करेंगे। तो इनिशियली वी हैव टू समराइज ऑल द स्टेप्स दैट the initial step is A, and after that we will move towards the B, and after B then we will move towards the C, and then B goes towards the C, and then from C we will move towards the D, and then we can explain each step of this process। और जैसे ही सारे प्रोसेस वन बाय वन खत्म हो जाते हैं, एट द एंड अगेन वी विल summarize them, or we can just draw again the sequence in the end, just like the in the initially discussing one by one जो हमने एक graphically जो इनको step wise जो है sequence जो है process है chain ये describe किया था, just like we can see in the picture that here it is from one process to another process। So that slide should be again repeated and then again summarized। So students दरमियान में से जो उनका डिस्कशन होगा that would be a single process, एक step that would be discussed in 2 or 3 slides, and then again at the end just like the first slide that would be summarized। कोई भी स्ट्रक्चर हो, कोई भी स्टाइल हो, कोई भी तरीका हो लेक्चर्स का, the biggest problem is, and that biggest problem is, and that is just big problem like just to drag that element towards yourself, which is maybe too difficult, that student usually don't want to answer question and talk to you in lectures, and you have and we have just to be very effective in our lecture, we have to motivate our students, ask the question, discuss the concepts, and they should be encouraged to ask question, and they should be encouraged for asking question without hesitation। So if we are not overcoming, and we can't overcoming this problem, which is the biggest problem, then obviously the students will gain a little one, and there may be less effectiveness in our delivering and our lecturing। So the first step before going to the different tips and different how we can be effective is to have a solution and overcoming of this problem. How we can attract our students for asking questions, and then how we can actually involve the students in our lecture. Because if students are not asking questions, they are just listening, so there will be just a passive learning, which I think is not an effective way of learning। So we should have to engage the students, we have to keep them actively, and they should be the active listeners। Uh, and if this problem is being solved, then other problems they can easily be solved। तो encourage students to take an active part, और इसको हम किस तरह कर सकते हैं, मुख्तलिफ इस तरह की बिहेवियर्स हैं, इस तरह के डिफरेंट अप्रोचेस हैं जो हम अगर इसको अपने लेक्चर के दौरान यूज़ करें तो हम उन स्टूडेंट्स को जो है इंकरेज कर सकते हैं, इसको हम अट्रैक्ट कर सकते हैं, इसको हम इन्वॉल्व कर सकते हैं इन आस्किंग द क्वेश्चन। तो इसको जो है we should provide no stress thinking time, and we should have be very patient while answering the question। Sometimes if the student asks a question and we just answer them very quickly, and the students are not satisfied, so they're discouraged, and then they are not going to ask question next time। Avoid targeting an individual. Again, this will affect and this will lead to the student not to ask question, not to be directly represented among the class as well। So we should not target a single individual one। On previously भी हमने इस बात पर discussion की थी। The proper way of asking the question is given जैसे हम उसको क्योंकि क्वेश्चन करना स्टूडेंट से एक अप्रोच है जिससे वो एक्टिवली रहेंगे क्लास में। तो हम इसको किस तरह एक्टिव रख सकते हैं कि हम openly कहें कि anybody from the class can answer this question, या any volunteer who have the answer to this question and then recite the question, and then आप बोल सकें कि just don't answer, just raise your hand, So this activity will include all those who answer जानते हैं, and then you may select anybody from those who have raised their hand. इससे फायदा ये होगा कि अगर ये क्वेश्चन आंसर दे देते हैं and that is the right answer, so you should appreciate them. If there was the wrong option, you should correct them, and if there is somehow it is correct but some part of it is wrong, so you give the immediate feedback. और इससे अगर appreciate करोगे given the right answer, तो इसको तो एक reward मिलेगा and he will be other बाकी students भी जो हैं वो answer देने के लिए उनके लिए वो बेचैन हो जाएं कि we should have also answered the question, ताकि हमें भी reward मिल जाए. Secondly, immediate feedback का फायदा ये होता है कि if there is some misunderstanding, जो answering student है वो clear हो जाएगी, as well as जो आंसर नहीं जानती इस बाकी स्टूडेंट्स उनको भी जो है इसका आंसर का पता चल जाएगा. तो ये है कि we should have to avoid the target the individual one and shouldn't ask the question directly from a person कि आप बताएं. So we have just asked the question openly, and then those students who are eager to answer the question, who are agreeing to answer the question, then we may select anyone from them. Similarly, ask the relevant question. The question should be relevant to the topic which is under study, and that is relevant to the subject, as this question that would also not distract the class, as well as that will be easy for the student to answer. Another point, when somehow when we are reciting the questions, so might be the students they are unable just to understand the question, so we may write at least the keyword in the question and the board, and then the keywords when we are reciting the question and we are writing the keyword in that question, so that will help the students to understand the question. The next approach is appreciate their participation or answering. What does it mean? It means they should be encouraged. They should be encouraged. Either they give the wrong question, if they are giving the right answer, they should be appreciated by their participation. इससे होगा क्या कि इससे अगर किसी को क्वेश्चन आता है लेकिन वो समझते हैं कि शायद ये गलत होगा, तो वो ऐसी स्टूडेंट्स को भी इंकरेजमेंट मिल जाएगी और वो भी नेक्स्ट टाइम जो है दे विल टेक पार्ट इन द एक्टिविटी. इसलिए किसी भी क्वेश्चन को गलत आंसर दे या सही आंसर दे, ये बाद में आप इमीडिएट फीडबैक में उसको कर सकते हैं, लेकिन आप उसको पहले अप्रिशिएट करें कि वेरी गुड, आप बिल्कुल सही हैं, बट देयर इज some correction, we are very right, yeah, the correct answer very good, you are somehow right, but actually you the correct answer is that. So initially we have to encourage them and then we can give the feedback. Start a list, then clearly value the answer you took. जो भी आंसर आ जाता है इसको आप तवज्जो से सुनिए और इसको फिर इस पर डिस्कशन करें. And do not humiliate someone for your wrong answer. Again, they will discourage you to be actively involved in their class, even if there should be an opportunity for them to answer without penalty. बाज़ औक़ात कुछ टीचर्स ऐसे होते हैं जो क्वेश्चन गलत करने पर कुछ पेनल्टी रखते हैं, so no one will just raise their hand voluntarily. कोई भी सामने नहीं आएगा to answer that question. या अगर इस तरह की ह्यूमिलिएशन होती है, so no one will eager and no one will voluntarily give the answer, चाहे उसको आता भी हो. तो कोशिश यही समझे कि भाई अगर गलती होगी तो टीचर डांटेगा, ये सब हंसेंगे. इसलिए ये इस तरह के कुछ स्टेप्स है we can engage the students actively. हमें टीच स्टूडेंट्स को आंसर देने के लिए प्रॉपर टाइम देनी चाहिए, एंड we don't give enough time and we are not listening the answer of the students, और डायरेक्टली हम जो है कमेंट्स कर जाते हैं, फीडबैक दे जाते हैं, तो सम कुछ इस तरह होता है जैसे टीचर Ellen give me a sentence starting with I. जो स्टूडेंट है वो इसका आंसर दे रहा था कि I is. अभी उसने सेंटेंस पूरा नहीं किया है कि टीचर्स कहते हैं कि no Ellen, always say I am. People students saying that okay teacher, all right, and he just continue the sentence and start with the I am instead of I is. I am the non-letter of the alphabet. Now it is. He was going to answer like I is the non-letter of the alphabet. He was not touching himself, but without impatience without not listing the complete answer, there was an immediate feedback from the teacher, which should be avoided. Otherwise, it may have such problem. Similarly, बहुत सारे ऐसे होते हैं एक्टिवली इन्वॉल्व किस तरह कर सकते हैं कि आप उनसे उनको सोचने का मौका दे और फिर इनसे कहें कि राइट डाउन, राइट, कोई भी इनको क्वेश्चन दे करे और उस क्वेश्चन के बाद उनको टाइम दे कि आप राइट डाउन करें अपने इस आंसर को, आप राइट, इससे उनको एक थिंकिंग का मौका मिल जाता है एंड दे कैन रिसाइड व्हाट दे हैव रिटन. जस्ट फॉर एग्जांपल, इस relevant to this topic, question may be write at least two characteristic of a good lecture and characteristic of bad lecture. Now they will think and what a good lecture is, what a bad lecture. They will write two characteristic of both good and bad, and then anyone who can recite the answer raise their hand, and then they will, if all are raising their hand, just ask from anyone. So this is another way how we can actively involve, engage the students in our lecture. Here are some common tips for the good teaching, that how we can be an effective teacher. We will talk on how we can design the slide, how we can effectively plan the lecture, that will be discussed later. But we should have a good teacher as well, regardless of how we have designed, what are our preparation for that management of the class. But कुछ ऐसे पॉइंट्स होते हैं जो एज अ ओवरऑल जो है टीचर्स को अच्छा बुरा जो है बना सकते हैं. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल, ही इज अ ओल्ड टीचर ऑफ इंग्लिश and he is asking another new teacher that are you the new English teacher, and the English teacher who is going to teach English to students, she answered that yes I are. So if she is unable to answer such question, how she will be able to teach effectively to their students? So the pehla point जो है कि we should be very interested in our subject and we have to know our subject. When you know your subject, you will understand the in-depth and the insights and the deeps of your subject, and hence you will be able to answer any question by the students. And if you are interested in your subject, then again you will have a time and you will enjoy the profession for your subject. You will enjoy the teaching to your students. But if we are teaching subject which is not in our interest, we have no experience of teaching, we have no irrelevant education and training of that subject. So again, obviously हम लेक्चर को जितना भी अच्छी तरीके से प्लान करें, जितने भी अच्छी तरीके से डिजाइन करें, हमारा वो लेक्चर जो इफेक्टिव नहीं होगा. इसी तरह the third tip is कि we should know about the ways of learning. There are almost 4 methods of learning style of the students. That is visual, that is oral, that is read and write, and the kinesthetic. So the visual mean कि students से visualization करें कि we see this picture, look at this picture, here is the picture, here is the animation. और ये जो है usually इसमें आप क्या कर सकते हैं, टिप ये है कि आप उसमें हम डिफरेंट ग्राफ्स एंड चार्ट्स एंड एनिमेशन एंड जीआईएफ यूज कर सकते हैं. और ये उन टीचर्स के लिए ज़्यादा बेहतर है जो फास्ट टॉकर्स है, बिकॉज स्टूडेंट्स समटाइम्स दे आर अनेबल टू अंडरस्टैंड बिकॉज ऑफ दे आर टू फास्ट टॉकिंग. So then their visualization and their animation and graphs and chart, that will help the student to understand the teacher. Impatient, as well as to have use words and phrases that evoke visual images and see and visualize, we can use such phrases. Similarly, the another which is the oral hearing, this is best for those who are the slow speakers. They are the natural listeners. They are the linear thinkers, prefer explanation over text and listen and verbalize. Read and write के लिए जो है आज सब पहले हमने कहा कि राइट डाउन, तो आप उनको सोचने का मौका दें और उससे फिर उसको कुछ लिखने का कहें. So this is another style of learning. Students may learn from the writing. So prepare the written text, emphasize text-based input and output, enjoying reading and writing. Kinesthetic, the word kinesthetic is derived from a Greek word which means the kinesis, and kinesis in Greek which means move. So that kinesthetic means we have to move in the class and we have to do some practical things in the class. So उसकी जो teacher tip यही है कि teacher should demonstrate some skills. Somehow, a best lecture is that some students they can easily understand when there is visualization of the content. Some students they are easily understanding the content when they hear, when they listen, because they are the natural listeners. And some can just learn from the reading and some from the demonstration. So a good lecture, an effective lecture is that we should have the visualization, we should have to be a good speaker, we should have some writing and activity as well, we some have demonstration at the level. Because if some students, they are natural listeners, so they will easily find it a very easy way of learning from their oral structure, in they will listen. And if some students which they are not good listeners, so they can have some easy understanding from the visualization. So we can combine all these styles in our lecture, and it will be helpful for all sort of students, and any type of student that will take the message from the lecture. Similarly, we have to understand uh, different types of learners. And these learners, in every class, we have such students. Some students, they lean by seeking the meaning and are most interested in question why. आप सब एज अ टीचर अगर है तो आप ये सिचुएशन फेस क्या होगा कि कुछ स्टूडेंट्स वाई का आंसर ये क्यों होता है, या ये जो मैम आपने कहा, ये जो सर आपने कहा, ये इस तरह क्यों है, ये इस तरह है तो इस तरह क्यों नहीं है, तो इस तरह के आंसर पूछते हैं. कुछ लर्नर्स, कुछ स्टूडेंट ऐसे होते हैं जो definition के बेस पर कि what does it mean, what is this, why it is so. So it means different definitions and the basic जो superficial चीज ज़्यादा जो है वो उसके बारे में पूछते हैं, and most of their questions they start from the what. कुछ ऐसे होते हैं जो यूजुअली जीनियस स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं या जो एवरेज स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं कि वो तो सुपरफिशियली जानते हैं और रीजन भी जानते हैं, लेकिन वो फिर इन डेप्थ चले जाके वो थ्योरीज को टेस्ट करने की कि भाई अगर ये सिचुएशन आ जाए तो देन हाउ वी कैन हैंडल, हाउ इट इज पॉसिबल, हाउ वी कैन डू दैट. तो वो जो है उस तरह के क्वेश्चन मिल सकते हैं. एंड कुछ ऐसे होते हैं जो सिंपल अपनी अपनी तरफ से पॉसिबिलिटीज जो हैं, अपनी तरफ से सिचुएशन क्रिएट कर सकते हैं कि अगर ये हो नहीं है, अगर इस तरह हो जाए तो फिर क्या करेंगे, या ये कैसा होगा इफ ये हो जाए, अगर ये हो जाए, अगर मगर के क्वेश्चन हो सकते हैं. तो इस तरह की स्टूडेंट जो है वो अपनी जो वहाँ पर एक्सप्लोर नहीं की गई हैं उनको भी ये जो है ओरिजिनेट करते हुए फिर कहते हैं कि अगर ये हो जाए तो फिर क्या होगा, अगर इस तरह का है तो इसके साथ क्या करेंगे, इसको क्या कहेंगे, अगर ये नहीं है तो फिर क्या होगा. तो इस तरह के क्वेश्चन जो हैं, एंड वी शुड बी वेरी prepared for answering all these questions and mentally prepared for facing all set of learners if they are asking the question why, what, how, and if. So the tip is we should know our student, we should know what are the different type of learning, and we should know about that how the students in this class are. Important one, this is the student, a teacher should be a good psychologist as well. We have to read the faces of our students, and we have to keep ourselves in their place. If I am the student and someone is teaching in this style, so what will be my opinion, what will be my feeling? और इससे होगा क्या कि when you are getting the students that they are losing their interest, just change them to an activity की तरफ उनको ले जाएं. कोई आप इस तरह जो irrelevant जो है उनके साथ knowledge share करें, या जो है आप इनके साथ जो है इस तरह की गेम खेलें which is relevant to the topic. उनमें आप कोई क्विज रखें जैसे उनमें जो है ये अटेंशन जो है और बोर्डिज्म जो है ये गायब खत्म हो जाए. In China जो है cameras they are installed and already in the classrooms, In these style cameras जो हैं, they read the faces and they just give the emotion. Just like this is the picture of one of the camera, and it is reading the faces of the students and giving the emotions on everyone that he is happy, he is sad and bored in the class. So every students has been kept an emoji on their face. So this is actually a very modern teaching in which the students they just real read about their emotions, what they are feeling now. If the teacher is unaware of such thing, then if the students are not able to receive or gain more knowledge and teacher जो है वो बोलता जा रहे हैं, so again जो है there will be no such reflection of that lecture in effectiveness. Topic will be covered, but the students will have no gaining from that. The next tip for a good teacher is to give them not only information but know how attitudes of mind, the habits of methodological work. It means when we are addressing our students, when we are teaching our students, so we should have to keep in mind that we are building their cognitive skills, we are giving them the psychomotor skills, and as well as we are also going to consider the affective domain as well. Let them learn kissing as that will encourage them and that will help them to explore more and more. Let them learn fully as again it will have the active involvement of the students. How we can plan the lecture? For that, initially we have to read our objective or what are our learning outcomes. Because when we read the outcome and they are the critical one, they are some psychomotor domain में आते हैं, तो फिर उसके लिए हम अपने lectures को ज़्यादातर demonstration level पर लेके जाते हैं. And if the objectives are the cognitive domain में है, तो हम simple description and simple discussion PowerPoint presentation पर भी कर सकते हैं. So इसलिए when we are going to plan our lecture, we should have to read the learning outcome of the content we are going to teach them. Secondly, we should determine the approach or type of lecture that will work best for topic as we discuss it, and that will depend on which type of objective we are going to teach. There are different types of lecture. There may be the formal oral essays, the exploratory lectures, the provocative lectures, illustrated lecture, lecture demonstration, lecture discussion, lecture come bus session, and these types of lectures that depend on which type of objective we are going to teach, then we can decide from any structure, any type of these lectures. Similarly, then we will make a plan for the lecture, and as we discussed earlier, that we will have a separate session on how to plan the lecture. In the start, we should have to grab their attention. We should give some overview of the total topic. Then we start the objectives. And then in the middle, we should discuss the explanation of those objectives, answer to the problems. And this is actually the meat of the known as the meat of the content. We should give some examples from the real life with examples resembling with the that original one. And then we can have some activities as well, which will make them active and which will make them engage in the class. And in the end, we should have some summary and as well as some time should be given to the question answer session as well. We should develop a sequence or plan to the content between how we can have a 60-minute lecture. So there should be some planning of the timing for our lecture. Besides our topic, beside our presentation, we should also have to develop some notes, handouts. We suggest some books for the further reading. We should also give them some research articles if they are the higher level students. And specifically the reference books ये बहुत जरूरी है क्योंकि अगर हम स्टूडेंट्स को रेफरेंस बुक का नहीं कहेंगे so when they are going to do their independent study which is in another strategy of learning or ये सिर्फ स्टडी करते हैं so they may go in the wrong direction This is the responsibility of the teacher to give them the extra learning material. That may be the different research articles, there may be the reference books, there may be the handouts, there may be some extra note. और फिर स्टूडेंट्स को कहा जाता है कि आप घर को एक्स्ट्रा पढ़ने के लिए समझने के लिए बुक को आप डिटेल से पढ़ें और उनको इंकरेज करें कि आप इसमें से if you have any query and any point in understanding any point in this book or this material, आप जो है नेक्स्ट क्लास में आप क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं. So then they will have read them, इसको read घर में और इसको इसकी जो boundary of knowledge है ये और भी जो है vast हो जाएगी. Select resources you will need, develop the PowerPoint. Again, it will make it easier for the students when they are listening as well as they are visualizing again the content and the projector as well. During the lecture, there are again some tips for the being a good teacher, and that's we should maintain eye contact with our students. And if we lose such eye contact with the students, then the students will also lose their interest in the lecture, and they will start some activities which will distract the teacher and the student who are listening to the teacher from the class. So the distracting behavior जो है वो शुरू कर लेंगे. So that's why to make them involved and make them attracted to the lecture, the teacher should have eye contact with all the students. The conversation. Because as some teachers they're just reading the slide, so in the mid after 10 to 20 minutes students become bored. So just to avoid them we should be very conversational, and for that purpose our slide should contain just a tip for us, not a notes for the students. There may be some abbreviation, there may be some short notes on the slide, and then we have to elaborate, we have to explain in detail to the students with these points. Very pace of lecture advice, and that will again, if we are talking too loudly and too with low strength of the voice, again it will have some distracting approach on the students. As we discussed earlier in detail, that students should be encouraged to ask questions. Moving around the room, as we discussed in the previous slide, there is one way of learning, and which is kinesthetic. So when we are moving in the class, again, it will help in not losing the interest of the students in the class. And obviously, when we are talking with discussing someone, so we should give some gestures and some movements to make it easier for the students to understand the concept. Do not overload students, and we should change our strategies. Their strategies may involve writing section, they may involve practical demonstration, they may involve some asking and question and listening to the answers. They may just involve just talking to the students, and break up the lecture into the question, quotes, cartoon, quiz, as it will again help in the varying the studies that will is help in the varying the pace of the lecture. कुछ कॉमन गलतियां जो अक्सर टीचर्स से हो जाती हैं, and these are the disorganization of all the content. There is no such sequence of the content, there is no such sequence of the objectives. और sometimes इस तरह भी होता है कि जो जिस sequence से हमने objective mention की है, चाहिए ये कि बाकी आने वाले जो meat of the content है, they should be in the sequence of the objectives. या इस तरह भी हो जाता है कि जो ऑब्जेक्टिव हमने लेके हैं उससे हट के कुछ और एक्स्ट्रा हमने डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं, और इससे होता क्या है कि स्टूडेंट्स की जो माइंड है ये डिवेट हो जाएगी. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस डिसऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो है वी शुड अवॉइड सम डिसऑर्गेनाइजेशन ड्यूरिंग आवर lecture. The next common error which may be present in many of the teachers, that is poor reliance on one teaching method. That is just talking for 1 hour. That is just practical demonstration and no varying of the pace. There is no such thing on the strategy. So that is one of the error. And one strategy throughout the 1 hour lecture that will again make students bored and will affect negatively their involvement in the, and they will lose their interest in the lecture. Why is too slow or too loud? If it is continuously too slow, so it's difficult for the students to understand and hear what the teacher is saying. And if it is too loud, again, it is a distracting behavior. we should be divided. Distracting risks, somehow we should be very decently and neat this. And these are very small things, but that have a very big impact on students. Students are the very keen observer. And if you are wearing some distracting dress, or if you are wearing some unclean dress, again, that will affect them negatively. So we should have to be very clean and decently dressed for our lectures. Not giving time for students to answer properly, or um, stopping them during their answer when they are answering a question, and readily we understand that he is going in the wrong direction, so we just stop them. That this is not the answer. This is, so we should give them some time, even if they are going in the wrong direction. We will correct them in the end, but that will stopping them in the middle of their answer. They will discourage them to answer again in the next and again in the future sessions. Not moving in the class and just standing and still on one place is another point which will create boredom in the class. Teaching one thing and testing another, again, we should be very relevant to our objective. As we discussed earlier, that if we have stated objectives, but we are teaching some other thing, again, that will create, have a negative impact on the class for their learning. And we are not, if here is the class is a 3-hour class and we are not giving any break, so it's natural phenomena that we are unable to listen for more than 1 hour. So at least the first step is the class should be not more than 1 hour, and if it is more than an hour, it should be 2 hours. But again, there should be some 5 minute to 10 minute break in the between these 2 hours. And if it is a 3 hour, then again, if there should be 10 to 15 minute break after 1 and 15 minutes or 1 and 20 minutes. Side reading a side translation, again, it will create boredom in the class. That is not an effective way of learning, and students will have lost their interest, and they will not just listen to the teacher, as they will just see what is written in the side and he is reciting. Covering too much material. Again, it is maybe in a single slide, it may be in the total class. If there are too much material on a single slide and we are have spending 15 to 20 minutes on a single slide, as there are too much content in the slide, so again, it will have some negative impact on the class, on the students for their learning. As well as if we are we are talking very fast and superficially skipping many things and just move around the different topics. So again, it is recommendation. It is recommended that the number of objectives there should not more than 4. There should be kept 3 or 4 objectives in the one hour session. There should be regular feedback to the students, as well as there should be regular feedback from the students. Feedback जो है दोनों तरफ से जरूरी है कि how I am teaching to you, are you getting my point, are you listening properly, if are you understanding the point what I am saying, is it clear? तो ये क्वेश्चन जो है ये आप अपने लिए कर रहे हैं कि स्टूडेंट की तरफ से फीडबैक क्या है, और एक ये है कि जो आपने बताए उनसे आप क्वेश्चन करते हैं, उनसे आप क्वेश्चन करते हैं कि आपने ये आंसर बताया, फिर आप उनको फीडबैक दे दें कि यस यू आर राइट, यू आर रॉन्ग. So the feedback should be from the teacher towards the students, and the feedback should be from the students towards the teacher. दोनों तरफ से जो है ये feedback जो है होनी चाहिए. That's why it is known as the feedback. कि आपने किसी को आपने खिला दिया, तो again आप उससे वो आपको खिलाएगा. It means you have to then require some response what you have given them. Use eye contact and question as a tool for the continuous feedback. Get a regular student feedback. They should be in the form of the questionnaire. They may be in the form of written test quizzes, and they may be in the hand raise, and they may be in the form of oral question. But we should be have some varying our structure, varying our assessment methods, as the teacher is thinking that for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please scan that tree. Now these are the students, and we know that there are different level of the students, as we discussed earlier in our lecture, that some students that understand easily from listening, they are natural listeners. Some that just easily understand when they watch something, when they observe something critically, or when they write something. So it means the learning style of every teacher is different from each other. So that's why we should have kept in mind we have to handle all these students similarly. And if we are taking a single question from all of them and we are just going to teach them in a single strategy, then again it will lead to the understanding of some students while others इनके लिए proper strategy उनकी learning के लिए suitable नहीं है, they will not get the point proper. So if you look at this is the monkey and this is the dolphin, then there is an elephant, there is a fish, then there is a sea lion and there is a dog. It's a good activity only for that, and this is a bird as well. So there is a good, the good result will be for that monkey and this bird. But a dolphin, the elephant, the fish, the sea lion, and the dog, they will be unable to climb the tree. So hence, they will fail in the subject. They will fail to answer the question. So it doesn't mean they were unable to do that activity was never made for them. They, if it is swimming inside the water, so it means then the fish is the best, the sea lion is the best, the dolphin is the best, but it's difficult for the all other. It means there are different types of students, and we have to take care, we have to handle them in different ways according that everyone should be receive that term. Similarly, we should give the reward and punishment to the specific student. If someone is giving good result, we should appreciate them only. And if someone is having some bad behavior or some, um, again, giving some wrong options, wrong answers, so we should have some punishment for them. And that punishment may be in the form of marks, they may be in the form of just feedback, not in other sense. So if we just read this, the student have written down there, not use things my teachers can do better. So the answer is not use corrective punishment as it is not suit on the many people who did nothing. And under the 1949, the Geneva uh, conventions, it is a war crime. So it's the spelling here is a plural crime. तो आप एक गलती से पूरी क्लास को अगर सजा देंगे, so obviously this is not the proper way. So again, we should avoid. Inshallah, we will discuss this in the next session, that how we can use effect to design and make a good slide in the to make it a good presentation.